If you're in the investing game long enough, it's going to happen. A big, painful loss. It's a universal experience, but it absolutely does not have to be the end of your story. So today, we're going to walk through a 5-step playbook for turning that gut-wrenching mistake into your single most valuable lesson.
You know the feeling. You open your portfolio and there it is. It's not just a down day. It's a notification that feels like a physical punch. Just a soul-crushing, blood-red number staring you right in the face, and it feels so deeply personal. For the author of the story we're drawing from, a seasoned banker, by the way, that number was a negative 42% loss on the biggest bet in their entire portfolio. A 6-figure mistake. And what's the first instinct? Pure, primal panic, screaming, "Sell! Sell it all!" But that is exactly the wrong thing to do.
So when you're standing there in the wreckage, this is really the only question that matters, right? I lost a whole lot of money. What in the world do I do now? Well, think of this explainer as your financial first aid kit, your step-by-step guide to getting back on your feet.
Okay, let's dive right in with step 1, diagnose the damage. The mission here is to become a detective, not a judge and jury. You're basically performing a financial postmortem with one single critical rule. No shame, no blame, just objective data. So the very first thing you need to figure out is this distinction right here. Was this a system failure, meaning you actually had a good plan but you let fear or greed take over and you didn't follow it? Or was it a strategy failure where the plan itself was just bad from the get-go, like say putting way too much of your money into one super risky thing? And to really finish your diagnosis, you gotta answer these 3 questions with total, brutal honesty. First, which type of failure was it? System or strategy? Second, what was your original reason for buying this thing? Be real. Was it solid research or was it just hype you saw on social media? And third, what could you have controlled? You can't control the market, nobody can, but you can always control your position size and your discipline to sell. You see, a big loss doesn't just drain your bank account. It totally bankrupts your confidence account. And your first instinct is just to run away from the market altogether, which is a really costly mistake. So step 2 is all about rebooting your system to get your head back in the game. The action plan for this is, well, it's deceptively simple. You take a tiny, almost meaningless amount of money, we're talking 15, maybe $100, and you put it into the most boring, sensible thing you can find. Think a broad market index fund. This isn't about making money, it's purely a psychological move.
And here's why that tiny little action is so powerful. This is the crucial point. It literally reframes your whole mindset. It shifts your identity from someone who lost money and reminds you that no, you are actually someone who is an investor. It's a small win that starts to patch up your confidence. Okay, building on that momentum, we move to step 3. Now that your head is a little clearer and your confidence is starting to reboot, it's time to approach what's left of your portfolio like a medic on a battlefield. It is time for triage. You're going to sort everything you have left into 3 simple buckets. First is the core. These are your high-quality, long-term investments. You do nothing with these. Just let them work. Then you have the satellites. These are your more speculative bets that might still have a shot. You need to reevaluate them. And finally, the gambles. You know, the investments made out of hype or FOMO? You have to be absolutely ruthless here. Sell them. Get that capital back. This always reminds me of what the legendary investor Peter Lynch said. Holding on to your losers while selling your winners is like cutting the flowers and watering the weeds. A major loss is the perfect excuse to finally get into your financial garden and pull those weeds out by the root. Think of this loss as a very, very expensive tuition payment. Well, step 4 is where you collect your diploma. You're going to create a document, call it a lesson ledger, and you're going to write down your new unbreakable rules for investing, forged in the fire of this mistake. And these rules need to be specific commands, not just vague hopes. We're talking things like, no single speculative stock will ever be more than 5% of my portfolio. Or how about this one? I will write down my sell strategy before I even click the buy button. This document, it becomes your personal investing constitution. And finally, we get to step 5. This is where you put your entire recovery on autopilot. You've done the tough emotional work, you've done the analysis, now it's time to embrace the beautiful, wealth-building power of being, well, boring. So, what does this look like in practice? It means you aggressively and automatically start funding your core portfolio. You increase your automatic contributions. You take the cash from those gambles you just sold and you redirect it right into your core holdings. This is how you systematically take emotion out of the equation and build real long-term wealth.
Look, losing big money feels like an absolute failure. It just does. But every successful investor I know has a story like this. It's almost a rite of passage. That pain, that loss, it's not a permanent weakness. In the long run, it's the scar tissue that actually makes you a stronger and smarter investor.
So as we wrap this up, I want you to really think about this. Your biggest loss is also your most expensive lesson, and I guarantee it's the one piece of financial advice you will never, ever forget. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, what did it teach you?